I've graduated.
All right. So Wendolyn was one of the creators of one of the very first all nomadic outdoor preschools, and it was quite amazing. And that's where we all got to know her. First of all, she started in Palo Alto, and then came up to Fairfax and Marin County. Got to have your experience and your knowledge with everything outdoors. Was wonderful. So in about 2011 or 2010, Wendolyn spoke to all the co-ops in Mill Valley at an event. And at that time, she was the outdoor educator. And now she has kind of changed her approach. She retired the van during COVID. For me, my husband and I would take walks all the way excited in Fairfax also. And you can see the great little van for Wendolyn's outdoor classroom, and I envied that she was out in nature every day with the kids. So that was really wonderful.
Okay.
And so now she has a whole new little career, and it's called Nature Infused Parenting and Coaching and Mentoring. So she not only mentors teachers, but also parents and everybody else. So we're really pleased to have her talk tonight, and we are excited about this whole event. So thank you, Wendolyn.
Great. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you so much. It's such a delight to be here. I really want to give gratitude to David, the house manager back there. Yay, he's made this beautiful place possible and lovely for us all. And I'm also want to give gratitude to the sky for just holding the waters back for a little bit, you know, so that we could easily drive here and that all your cars helped you get here safely. I'm just really grateful that we all are here in one piece and that you are interested in this topic that is a passion of mine. Discovering the power to parent through nature's system of care. Kind of nice. What is that? You know, what? Can you hear?
There's a mic.
Yeah, here's a microphone. Ooh, does it work different if I go like this?
I don't know if I can.
No, who's the sound people back there?
Is there somebody who knows? Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening. It's happening as we speak. Great. Oh. How is it now? Is this any different? Ooh, some bass. Good? Okay. Where was I? So, this is such an important subject, discovering the power to parent and what is that. And it's so important to me because when I was a first-time mom 41 years ago, I did not feel so empowered. And I didn't like that. And I became dedicated to understanding why I was challenged, why things were hard for me, and to understand why my child acted certain ways. And it became a passion of mine, and it still is. And I like to share in hopes that anybody who struggles at all, that maybe there's something I can give you that will make it a little easier for you and a little easier for your child or your children. Is it hard to hear?
Yeah, is there one right next to
If there's any way we could, yeah, if we could make it taller,
Here she comes.
I would like not to hold it if we can make this bigger and come forward because I need my hands.
Can we put it up on the stage? Can we just put the whole thing up here?
We could, but it's quite intrusive that way, is it? No?
Lower it. Just sing a song and we'll see if it's louder.
Sing a song of sixpence, pocket full of rye. How's that? Okay, maybe a little closer? Is that, oh, what do you think? Yay, community at its best, which brings me into this next important piece before we go much further. A closer, oh Lord in heaven, my freedom is stifled, God. Okay, you just keep going like this if I stray. Am I good? Work? Okay. Helps me see you better. So one of the reasons we are here, as Maureen stated, was because of something that happened to the San Anselmo Co-op. Is there reverb?
No.
Okay, just for me. All right. This incredible tree, which I'm pretty sure was inside, tell me if I'm right, the tree grew on the inside where the school was. Is that right? Yeah, this beautiful tree that appeared to be quite old. It was over 30 tons. It had lived a beautiful life. And you know, trees give us so much. They're little and they grow. And if you know anything about trees, actually all the big trees, they spread out their roots. And if the little ones get sick or anything, they reach out and they get support and help underground to help all the sick ones. Trees do a lot to help each other. And when they get big and strong, they protect the little ones from the winds and the rain. And they provide homes for squirrels and birds and all sorts of bugs. And this tree, I know, did that. This tree grew up tall in that school and protected the children and all the people there from sun sometimes. And then it got old. And the winds got too strong, the rains got too strong, and it fell down onto the school where 33 families have their children that play there and love it. And blessed be, nobody was there and nobody got hurt. And hopefully none of the birds or the squirrels got hurt either. And what I'm dedicating this night to is the incredible story this tree gives us as a way to empower your parenting. So this tree, as I described it, how it grew, it's strong, it helped. How it helped, it had this strong trunk that everyone could lean on, its beautiful arms that children could probably play near or on, animals could hang on it. It's like being a parent. And as a parent, how do you stay strong like that? Well, the tree has these roots that go deep down and drinks in nourishment, raises its head up high and gets the nourishment from above and is able to be there for so many. But the thing that has really struck me so much about the story of this tree is that when it fell down, there was, in modern language, you would say there was a rupture. There was something that happened that ruptured the natural flow of life, the natural state of the tree and the flow of everyone in the school. And, oh, they're better. But then something remarkable happened. So there was this big rupture. And now, a lot of people in the school could have gone into just like dismay. They could have gotten frozen. They could have gotten lost. We don't know what to do. But instead, they did something that is so inherently part of our nature. Everyone rallied, and they're still rallying to make things work. The teachers, the board members instantly came together, figured out how to help the parents at work, where to put the children, people offering their homes, creating things like this to donate money to help fix it. And that, what's the word? I'll use a simple word. It's touching, because it is mirroring what nature teaches. And this tree, I hope that as the time goes on, people will remember this tree not for only the demise that happened, but the gift of allowing people to just really come together and work together as a community. And as a parent, I believe that's something we need to empower us as parents. We need support. Our nature wasn't made to parent alone or just with one other person. So I'm grateful that, not grateful that it happened, but grateful that we can see how nature works in its best way and one of its systems of care. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So tonight, discovering the power to parent through nature's system of care, through 6 practices that will fortify and empower your parenting, and here's the key, the special thing, enable you to help your children listen, learn, and grow. How many of you ever have problems with your child like doing exactly what you want? Like you say something and they just do it, right? Doesn't that always happen? You say, put your shoes away, and they go, oh yes, mommy. Oh yes, daddy. Does that happen for everybody? Why is nobody raising their hand? Yes, it doesn't. And why? And is there actually a way that you can facilitate your children listening with greater ease? Because they're not going to always listen to you. It wouldn't be life. It wouldn't be natural. It wouldn't be natural. I'd worry about your child if they were always compliant. Because one of the first things to know into understanding how to truly be an empowered parent is, first off, understand the nature of young children. I'm going to just talk basically about young children tonight. So 0 to 6. Understand the nature of a young child. Understand what they need more than anything in those first early years, and understand their language. And then I'm going to really talk tonight also about understanding what you need. Basics. Just remember, tonight is just like a big brushstroke, these basic ideas, but they're core ones. And also know that all the basic elements that a child needs, you were once a child, and you needed all those things, and you still need them. And the language that the children learn, their first language, you may not use it so much, but if you really want to get children to listen to you, to learn and to grow, remember that first language, because it's in you. So what is it? What do they need, and what is that first language? What children basically need more than anything else, in anything you do, any way you instruct them, they need to feel safe, secure, connected under the beautiful umbrella of love. So let's pull that apart a little more. So safety, what does that mean? Well, they need to know, and they don't need to know it through their higher functioning brain through words. They need to know it through action. They need to know that you're going to take care of their body. You're going to make sure that they're safe. They need to know that there's going to be food there for them, that they're going to be safe, they're going to be protected. They need to feel secure in those things. They need to know that it's not going to change. Security comes from consistency. And if every day it's different, and if one day you love them and the next day you don't, one day you push them away and the next day you don't, it's very insecure. It creates a lot of insecurity, and it creates a place of lack of safety. And if you are not able to provide that secure feeling of safety, it will be hard for them to really comply. So they need safety, security, connection. They need to be really connected. Another word for that you might be really familiar with is attachment, that healthy attachment. You're there for them. They can count on you. They feel safe and secure with you. And they feel your love. And then a little side note, the question is, well, how do I love them when I'm really mad? How do I make them feel safe and secure and connected when I'm like, oh, anybody ever get that way? Do you ever get upset with your children? Do you ever tell them, just do it? We just had a parent the other day, they had their 4-year-old, and they were like, I just want my 4-year-old, I just want him to brush his teeth, put his pajamas on, and go to bed. And why does he just want me to be with him? I just want him to go to bed. Something important to know. Children, did I already say this? Children are by nature immature. All things new are immature. That is all of our nature. That's why we're here, to help them grow, right? They are immature. We have to know that. So when we look at them like, why don't you just do this? If they could talk, but I'm really kind of little. I really can't do it. My brain doesn't even work like yours. I just function from, this emotional brain. So It's really important to know that. That another piece I think is very important to know, that young children can only have one feeling at a time because their brain hasn't developed. They can't say, I'm really mad at you, but I love you. That is not going to happen. They have one feeling, they go through this big wave of feelings, and then it subsides, and the only person still reeling is you. Because you have more than one feeling, and they are like, I'm done. I hate you. I love you so much. Like, what? Take a breath. Yeah. So understand they are immature, and we are here to help them mature, and we help them regulate. So when that tree had a rupture repair, people got together to repair, the community got together to help restore this stuff and to bring back regulation. We as the adults are here to help them regulate when they get dysregulated, when there's rupture, to help the repair, and we cannot expect them to take the lead. What do you need? You need all those things met too. You need to feel safe, you need to feel secure, you need to be connected, you need to feel loved. But you have all your faculties predominantly developed, and that's a key. So now I want to go into, I laid that. That's what we need. We all need that. And I say all these things because it will help find a way to become empowered. If you are being pulled by a child's tantrum, there's not an empowerment. If you understand the nature of the child, it helps a little. If you understand yourself, wow, I am really triggered by this kid, but oh, wait a minute, I am triggered. Key things to help. Now, what are those 6 things I talked about, those 6 practices that come from nature, that system of care to help you be empowered? Well, it comes from, I made nature an acronym, NATURE, and it stands for nourish, attune, trust, unconventional, rest, and enjoy. So I want to pull apart each one of those with some examples and how you can really empower yourself, feel like an empowered parent through being more regulated and not completely losing yourself when ruptures happen, because the nature of our life is we have ruptures and we have repairs, but sometimes we don't know how to do that. Sometimes we don't know how to do that when our little child has lost it, because then we do, and then we're all just a mess. So, nourish. How do you get nourished? So the practice I want to give you right now is one that I think many of you might know, but I'm putting it in the context of utilizing our nature, and in the context of empowerment. And I have to backtrack just a minute because I forgot to say something I started. So I said I was talking about what a child needs, but I believe I also said there's a language of children. If you understand the language, and that is important when it comes to nourishing. So the language of a child is through their senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and feeling, sensing. Just know that when a child is born, they don't know what we're saying. They feel us. They hear the volume of our voice. They see the expressions on our face. They see if we're looking at them or we're not. They are touching us. They are sucking on us. They are feeling our clothes. They're smelling us. They're getting to know life through their senses, and the more we can nourish those senses and support them as a good thing. Because oftentimes, I have seen it many times, maybe you have seen it within yourself, kind of downplaying their wonderful senses. Don't touch that. Don't put that in your mouth. You know, we don't want to listen to that. That's not right. All those kind of things. There are other ways we can do it, Like if we don't want something in their mouth, we can still do that with love and nourishment instead of don't. Because they want to feel safe and secure, and they have this sense, they have this part of their being. We all have part of this as our being, and we want to feel safe and secure that we can have that. We can have that sense of taste, that sense of touch, and it can all be okay, even if we need to help them alter that a little bit. So back to nourishing. I want to provide a practice. Again, you might know some of it, you might use it, but again, it's in the context of empowering your parenting. And it's using those senses. And the sense, I invite you to imagine you're back in bed. It's morning time. You're not quite awake. And you're just about to wake up. And the thing is, right before we're in that balance of waking and sleeping, we are coming from a different land, a different place. Our brain waves are much slower, much slower. We're not really embodied. We're certainly, our brain isn't like thinking the way we are right now, not in this state. So our brain's slower. We're in what's called a dream time, that place. And it's just a different world. And our body and our mind and our feelings are in a whole nother reality and functioning in a different way. So when we wake up, lots of times, maybe you're woken up by alarm, maybe you're woken up by a crying child, maybe your child sleeps in your bed and they're the ones dictating when you wake up. Maybe they're in another room and they're crying and they wake you up. Maybe, if you're lucky enough, you just naturally woke up. Wouldn't that be nice? So you wake up, and what really helps to nourish your child is if you find a way to nourish these systems, to bring them all together. Your seeing, your hearing, your smelling, your tasting, your touching, your feeling, bringing yourself back into your body, and more connected to your true state. So, again, imagine you're in your bed. You're laying down. And within probably less than a minute, you can slowly wake up, keep your eyes closed, and take one big breath and let it out. Just a breath that helps you, I have a body. Here I am. And then just notice, do you hear anything from your left ear? Do you hear anything through your right ear? When you put your ears together, your awareness, both ears, can you hear through your room? Can you hear out of the room? Maybe you hear a bird. Maybe you hear something very pleasing. Maybe you hear your cat purring or your child sleeping peacefully. One of the best sounds, yes? And then bring your attention. You brought in a breath, but can you bring in a smell? Do I smell anything this morning? Do I taste anything? How does my mouth taste? Do I like it? Am I looking forward to tasting something? And then bring your awareness to your body. Does your body have aches? Was it twisted and contorted? Were you sleeping with a baby and it's like, oh, I really never get a good night's sleep. It's always a little uncomfortable. Or do you just feel that wonderful pillow and the blanket that's so warm, and you just go, yeah. And you just take a moment to feel the goodness and pleasure of that. And then you open your eyes, no thought, you just look around. Oh, right, where am I? I'm not in dreamland, I'm here. I'm in this place. And then, if you can, you just turn around. You're gonna fix it? Yeah. What do you think? Oh, have you missed anything? Have you heard anything I said? Here we go. Thank you so much. Sure. Okay, I have to get taller now. This could be troublesome. Okay. So you orient to where you are, and then you turn. And I really encourage you to put your feet on the ground and let this beautiful thing happen, gravity. You really let yourself feel yourself and get ready for the day. You've brought your senses in, and the truth is you can do this sense meditation in, 30 seconds if you wanted. But if you do it in 30 seconds, do it with consciousness, so that will slow you down a little bit. And then you're grounded and you're solid, and you stand up and you feel yourself, and all of a sudden you hear your child crying. Or let's say you heard them cry before that, and you thought, oh my God, my child's crying, I have to get up, I have to go. I don't have time for that. What is she talking about? Get real. My life isn't like that. I can't do that stuff. Get over yourself. Just take a breath if you think that. Take at least one breath. Just know that if you come to your child in a state that is more congruent, more nurtured, that is the gift you're giving to help your child be nurtured themselves, nourished. So here we have my little friend. This was my youngest daughter's doll. She's now 37, so this doll's old. And you hear it crying. You're like, oh, I gotta go. Even if you have to go and you feel like you really have to be there, you can take one moment, one breath, one conscious breath, and know that I am nourishing myself. This breath is moving in me and helping me be here for the day. And walk into your child, and there you are. Hi. Oh, little tears here. Or if they're running, jumping, like my little granddaughter comes in and just jumps, and daddy's like, oh, I'm so not ready for that. But what daddy can do is not open his eyes, go, oh, the sunshine, I think you ate grasshoppers before you even came in. Daddy's going to still rest a little bit. Daddy takes a breath. There you are, my rambunctious little friend. You know what? Did you say good morning to your little stuffed animal bear? And then you put them on an adventure. And what I want to add is their language. Part of their language is awe, wonder, curiosity, imagination, and play. And if you tap into their curiosity, their imagination, their just awe and wonder about life, you can help yourself and you can help them. You can meet them where they're at, and they will have an easier time listening to you instead of saying, I am so tired, do not come in and do not bounce on the bed. It is not time for me. I want you to go back into your bed and I will let you know when I'm ready to see you. How did that feel? There's a difference. There's a big difference. And it takes practice. That's why this is called 6 practices, because it doesn't happen overnight, generally speaking, to help ourselves, nourish ourselves so we can be present and nourish our children. So nourishment leads us right into attunement. So Dan Siegel is a great writer, has written many books to help parents. If you don't know of Dan Siegel, please look up many of his books and gift yourself with reading them. So this is what he says about attunement. He says, when attuning to another, allow your inner state to shift and come to resonate with another's inner world. I'll say that again. When you are attuning to another, allow your inner state to shift and come to resonate with the inner world of another. So when coming to this little child in the morning, you helped yourself be connected to your true inner state, your true nature. And when you were able to go to the child who you tuned into their inner world and it was a little wonky, you were able to be there and nurture them and help regulate them. But a story I want to share that was one of the most beautiful attunement stories I ever learned from the children I worked with. There was a little girl, she was about 4 years old. Her name was Carrie, and we were walking down a trail. It was a beautiful sunny day, and Carrie was such a sensitive, very, very sensitive. She felt everything, happily, sadly, big feelings, whatever it was. And she was running down the path, and she fell. She didn't actually scrape herself, but she fell. And know that lots of times for children, since they're so present, so in the present moment, that to go from happy to a hurt or a change can be very, very disrupting, dysregulating, and a deep rupture. And they can really have a hard time, and they can get knocked off their game. And so this happened with Carrie. She was running and she fell, and she was just, beside herself. You know those cries where you think they lost a leg or something? And she's crying, and of course I came over, but I was in a calm state, knowing I didn't want to scare her by coming like, oh my God, what's happening? Just came over to her, and all the children, there were 6 of them, it was amazing. They were so in tune to their inner state. They came over and they just kind of circled around her. And she's crying, and I came, and I was about to reach out to her and do something called coming alongside. I learned that term from Gordon Neufeld, developmental psychologist and great teacher on healthy attachment. He talks about coming alongside. So we all came alongside little Carrie. And everyone was so attuned that you could feel that she didn't want to be touched. But having us there was just right. And a little girl, this is so like little kids, they're so precious. The little girl, her peer, comes up to her and she cocks her head, comes very close, says, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No!" She's screaming and crying. And the little girl just sat there. And we just held this most attuned state. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever felt, because purely all the children were in their state, but holding space for hers and giving her room to just allow this wave of painful emotions find their way. And then her big crying finally came to that natural state that lives in us, that helps us regulate our dysregulation. She started to breathe like this. You know that? You ever seen anybody, a child do that? And if you try it yourself, if you're ever really having a hard time, you can do that. You can actually pay people. They'll teach you that, and they'll have the name for it, that this helps you. But I'm just going to give it to you here now. Just this is what happens. It helps you regulate. And so she was doing that. She was settling. She finally came down to regular breathing. She looked up, because usually when they're in that state, they're in this total state, there's nothing else but the emotions. And just to let you know, that is a time where it will never help for adults or child. When anybody is in that big state of feelings, you cannot talk to them and ask them cognitive questions. You can come alongside, you can love, you can talk with words from the heart, but it's not a time to ask questions. How are you? What happened? Put those aside. That is for another time, not for this time. It is just to be present in loving presence and attunement. And so she settled down, her breath was clear, she looked up, she, what I'm going to call, oriented to her surroundings, like we did earlier when we were doing that meditation. In your bedroom, you finally open your eyes, you orient to where you are. She was able to see where she was, and then her other little friend came up and said, "Are you ready to play?" "Yes!" And off they went. Off they went playing, and it was completely 100% resolved, because there was attunement. There was no panic. There wasn't because I don't know about you, but I was a little bit of a nervous Nancy mom, and oh my God, it's happening. That's why I know about some of these methods, so I'm sharing with you if you have a tendency to panic a little bit. Breathe, feel your feet. The more you do that, the more you help your children regulate, and the more they will listen to you. And the more they will trust you. T, N-A-T, nourish, attune, and trust. Trust is such an important thing, and it's a tender thing, and it's something to be honored. And I want to say something from my life about trust. And if you ever are a parent who sometimes feel like, oh, how am I going to learn this? Or you feel really bad, or you're getting down on yourself, just know that repair can happen at any age. And in a little bit, you'll know why I say that. My parents were lovely, but my mother had very little skill in understanding emotions. She wasn't attuned with as a child, and she didn't know how to do that for her children, me, my sisters. And I never trusted her with my emotions. I learned early on that you're not a person I'm going to tell stuff to, because you're just like doing the way you were raised. You were giving me power over parenting, power over the child, instead of being empowered in my true nature and my connectedness to self. So I didn't trust her in that, but what she and my dad were great with, totally trusted them with the safety and security of our physical world. We never lacked for food, we never lacked for clothes, we never lacked for fun, adventures, and camping. And what we really didn't lack for is, no matter what, if our car broke down, if we just had trouble, struggles, they would come, middle of the night, even in the early 80s, call them anytime, and they were there, and there was trust. So as I said a little moment ago, there wasn't a lot of trust in the emotional world. And my dad, who had a little more skill, when I was probably in my mid-40s, something like that, maybe somewhere around there, my dad wanted to understand why I struggled as a child, why things were so hard, because I was one of those sensitive kids. And he called and he said, I'm going to too many memorials, and I really want to understand my daughter because I love you. Would you get together with me, and can we have tea like every other week or every week? And so for 2 years, my dad and I got together, and he listened. And he listened, and he repaired the rupture that happened between us. And after 2 years, he said, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that I betrayed you. I love you, and I thank you so much for telling me this. And in that moment, me as a full-grown child who didn't trust my dad with my emotions, it was healed. So I say this specifically if you are someone who might feel poorly sometimes, when you see that, oh my gosh, I did something that I wish I didn't do with my kid, and I can see that it hurt them. Just know that repair is real, and it can happen at any age. So trust, it's an important thing. One last thing I want to say about trust is, look at who the people are that you trust, that you really can rely on, and look at yourself, how you trust yourself or how you don't. When I was a young parent, I didn't trust a lot of things. And that's why I said, I'm going to figure out how to do that. I'm going to figure out what's going on in me. And I did all that I needed. And now I can sit here and say, I trust a lot of things about me as a parent. And it feels good. It feels calming. It feels grounding. And it feels empowering. So I offer these things to you, I say again, so that you can have those sensations, those feelings as well. So then, what happens after trust? This is one of my favorite ones, unconventional. So we need convention in our homes. We need those accountability. Conventions are those things that you can count on, like schools have conventions, your home has things that this is what we do. Kids can count on it. This is what we do. This is how our family does it. This is how our school does it. This is how our spirituality does it. This is how our town does it. We know that the stop sign, it's a wonderful convention. We know that when we see the stop sign, we use it. Why? For safety and security, and everyone stays connected and feels like I'm secure here in this town. So it's a good thing. Conventions are good, but unconventionality. We're all different, and we need to be loved when we are different. And I want to tell you this story. It is so touching to me. Another touching story about a family that I had, a mom and her son. And her child was going through severe separation anxiety. So now some people, some teachers, some schools believe that, listen, your kid cries, it's okay, just give them to me, let them cry, even if they cry for a half hour, they'll get over it and it's okay. I do not hold that. I don't find that healthy for the child. But this is where attunement comes into play. Sometimes you can feel when the child really isn't ready to be at school then. You really know, wow, they really need to be with you. And sometimes you can tell, you know what, I'm pretty sure they're going to cry, you're going to go, it's going to take them a minute or two, they're going to orient to where they are, and boom, they're going to be off and it's going to be great. So in this case, as you know, I had a bus, as shared with you, I had a bus, and in Fairfax, we would take the bus to Perry Park, and the kids would play in the little forest there, and then they would come into the bus, and we would have songs and lots of orienting things to create safety and security, to settle and transition from where they came from to coming into this new wonder of the day. Well, one child came on the bus, and it was clear. He was 4 years old, and he had that cry, that gut-wrenching cry that you knew this is no time to be pulling that kid away from the mom. And I could see the mom, of course, any mom would feel the pain and agony of her child, and she's not wanting to leave, and she's not sure what to do. So we got together and had a talk about, what do we do? I said, I'm not comfortable ripping him away from you. I do not believe that will serve him. I believe that it will cause more trauma, and there will be no trust. He won't have trust in me, and his trust with you will be diminished. So let's really attune to his needs. Let's nourish him. How can we do that? So we came up with a plan, and the plan was she would follow us. He would drive with her, follow the bus into the natural places where we got. And typically in my school, we'd get to the natural places. The kids would come out of the bus. They'd play for a little, orient to that place, and then come into circle time. So she would follow us, participate with that day, stay for circle time, and then leave. And it took, believe it or not, 6 months, long time, very unconventional. Most people would never go that long. Why are you waiting that long? But I kept testing it. We tested in many different ways, and it was very clear. But one day I heard his cry when he got on the bus. We were trying it again, and I could tell it was just habit. I could tell that he was rooted in his body. He was clear. He was stable. He felt secure. He felt safe. He felt connected. He knew mom. He felt safe and secure with her. He felt safe and secure with us, the program. And I said, go. And from that day on, and according to her, his separation anxiety was gone from everywhere, and he was so solid after that. And that was the most beautiful experience of unconventionality. She did something where some of her peers or some teachers would say, wow, that's a little indulgent. You know, you're really taking a little too long for that. I don't think your child, I think they're not telling you to do the right thing at that school. But it wasn't. And it's because we were listening and attuning to what was needed. And I was attuned to the mom and the child. It still brings me to tears how beautiful it unfolded. Unconventionality. Notice where you want to be a little different, and are your peers pressuring you? Where can you tune in, nourish your truth, attune to yourself, trust yourself? And if you feel like being unconventional and wearing polka dots when everybody in the community says, what? You're wearing polka dots? Oh, you're not in the club anymore. And you go, well, I love my polka dots and I want my child to wear them as well. Pretty soon you'll start a trend, I'm sure of it. So, unconventionality leads us right into rest. We all need rest. But I want to tell you about the rest children need. And I've already told you about it, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more. In order for children to really listen, learn, grow, and play freely, they have to have your trust. They have to feel that security and that safety so that they can really explore their imagination, their awe, their wonder, and their curiosity. And a beautiful example of that is play. Now, the thing about play is something you go into, you go out of, because play is a place where it's totally safe. You can be anything you want and it's safe. And there's no goal. So actually, video games and even board games aren't true definition of play because there's a goal in mind. The play that children do, that you see preschoolers do, there's like, you can watch them. They go, you be mommy, you be daddy, you be this, you be, they don't do that for like, I've seen them do it for 45 minutes and 5 minutes they play and then they go back, no, you be this and you be that. And they're just creating and imagining and all these things. So if they go into play and they have, I'm going to use an example that's been around for decades, the issue of gunplay. This may be some of you that don't want my child to play with guns, it's bad. I don't want the grow up using guns, it's bad. And so this child knows, he's got this thing, don't play with guns, don't play with the guns, I can't play with guns, it's bad to play with guns. And he goes and he's with his friends and they're playing and it's all safe and fun. You be the good guy, you be the bad guy, bang, bang, oh, and then he falls down dead. And then miraculously, because they're playing, he pops up and he's alive again. And it's your turn, you be the bad guy and I'll be the good guy. And they play this game over and over. Why do they play? Because they're learning and exploring and understanding and learning empathy and practicing, seeing what fits with them and their true nature and what doesn't. But this is the age where they have to be allowed to do that. But if a child doesn't feel safe and secure to rest in knowing that you will love them even if they're doing that, then they can't fully rest in their play and in the work of a child. So one of the many ways I like to deal with those things that are a little dicey, should we do it? Or I'll give one example. When I had these boys, they always wanted to play Star Wars. I didn't particularly like that they watched Star Wars, but they did. So I rolled with it. They played Star Wars and they'd come in with what are those guys called with the white, the what are they? Stormtroopers. Every day they were stormtroopers. They came in, I was like, okay, how am I going to weave that into the natural world? And it's like, I just got into curiosity and play and imagination. It's like, oh my God, you stormtroopers are so strong, huh? Yeah, well, where do you live? They're like, where do we live? They're asking each other, where do we live? Oh, we live over there. Well, you have such this thick suit on, what do you eat? And so the truth is, I was immersing them into their bodies, into the natural state of their being. My favorite one, though, was saying, ew, how do you poop? And they were like, went on tilt and ran away to play. But I didn't judge them. What I did is I worked with it. And I just played with it to add more of the natural world. I joined their world and they had freedom to play. And yes, of course, I wanted them to be a little less attached to those external things. I wanted them to be more immersed, but I just brought the natural world into them because that was what I wanted, and brought their world in, and we created this beautiful piece where they were free to play and rest in their natural state. And finally, after we've nourished, we have, what did we do? We attuned and trusted and found some unconventionality and rested. The final piece is enjoy. One time, my youngest daughter and I were having some challenges, and we were working with this team, these therapists, these wonderful women. And they said, what's really, really important is to build your bank account of happy memories, things that you enjoy. Really, really build that up. And in the language of a child, I would say, bring out your Mary Poppins bag. You know her bag, that little bag that it was bottomless. You just put it forever. You could put anything in, and it's like, find all those memories, because as they told to us, hard times come, ruptures happen, and you need tools for repair. You need those practices of repair. So every day, find those little happy moments and look for even the smallest one and put it in that bag so you can grab it when the ruptures, when the rains come, the big trees fall, and you have that. Yeah. Practices. Practice breathing. Practice using your senses. Know that those senses are what your child lives with and what you can too. And all of those bring us back to our true nature, to where we can empower ourselves by getting connected, attuning to ourselves. And that is how our children will listen. That's how they learn and how they grow, when we can be that tall, strong tree, rooted, connected to community and support, and be able to hold up our immature children and let them grow in such a beautiful way. So that's a part of this talk. And what I'd like to do right before we go to Q&A is just take a moment to integrate just a little. We don't have a lot of time. And actually, I'm going to say one little extra thing I want to add is that lots of time we think we have to have all these things for our kids to do. And I will say the younger they are, the more they need a whole lot more integration time. So even like a little 3-year-old, 2, 3, 4 hours at preschool, let them come home and just rest. Let them integrate with all the stuff they have and all these social things, so many things they're learning. Give them the time to just rest. And as they rest, let yourself rest. Maybe you can just sit and do what I'm going to invite us to do right now, is just take 2 breaths, maybe even close your eyes. Feel yourself in this lovely chair that's been holding you this whole time. Notice what was nourishing. Anything that wasn't, let it go. And just take 2 breaths and nourish yourself. Now, we're going to enter Q&A, and if you have a question, just raise your hand. And Maureen, there was someone else that was going to help. Anyway, Maureen, there you are. Yeah. So raise your hand. I'll call on you and the microphone will come to you. And if you could stand up and use the mic, that would be really helpful. Actually, yeah. Maureen? Does she? Yeah, she's going to help us. Tell me your name again. I'm so sorry. Maria? Maria is going to come with the microphone to you. Thank you, Maria. Thanks, Maureen. So does anybody have a question? Yes, a man right back there.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could revisit trust a little bit.
Yes.
And maybe help differentiate it from connection and security and some of the elements that are more associated with nourishment.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So how does trust, what is the difference in differentiating trust between nourishment and attunement? Those first 2 are really, for me, the first 2 are foundational to trust. Trust a child if, for example, this is an extreme example, but let's say every time I actually saw, I didn't like seeing it all. I saw an Instagram picture, and there was this dad, and he was holding his baby. It was a baby, and he put a picture of the mother here, and he put the bottle there. He was looking away, but he put the picture over here while he was staring at his phone. So I think he thought it was creative. I don't know why. To me, it broke my heart. It's like, why? He needed connection. So that child I've seen it happen where parents like that are wondering, why doesn't the kid love me? Why doesn't the kid like me? Why is the kid not turning towards me? It's because you're not there. The child can't trust your presence. So trusting is knowing. They can trust. So you attune to them and you're there. Let's say you go into the child and you're just angry. I mean, it happens, I'm sorry, all the time. And you're yelling at them. They can't trust your love. So they all kind of weave in together. But trust is when you, in a way, I think I could say trust is giving your heart to somebody. You like really become vulnerable when you trust somebody. You open yourself up. Because when you don't trust, it's like, yeah, like, you know, if you look to some pained teenagers, yeah, whatever, you know, I can do this. Like, you're not going to tell me what to do. There's no trust, and it's going to take a whole lot of attunement and a whole lot of nourishing to help that person become vulnerable enough to feel safe enough to give their heart to you and trust you. And once you get that, that is beyond gold. That is a sacred treasure to be trusted. And if a child really trusts you, do everything you can not to break that. And just know, if you do, you can be in your 40s and still heal it. So, did that answer your question, or is there more to it? You want more? Yeah, okay. Pardon me?
Vulnerability is a great addition.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else have a question? Yeah.
It's not really a question. It's more of a, like when I think of trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes like if your child has a separation anxiety or something when they're being dropped off.
Yeah.
And they're crying, they're feeling sad, and it's really helpful if the parent also can trust, right, the process, like even when they're being dropped off.
Yes.
So like if the child feels that the parent trusts this, you know, who they're being dropped off with.
Yes.
Then that also is, I think, a really huge component to the word trust. I think it kind of works that way. Like,
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So it kind of goes, you know, it's like the child needs to trust, but yeah.
Yes. And it is. That's why I said this is a broad stroke. And that's why it's so perfect. You, as a very experienced teacher, well-seasoned teacher, this is why having community. I can never say it all. That's why questions are great. That's why we work together. That's why I like to work in circles, because one person rises up, I'm rising up here now, I recede, you say something and you say something. We all have something to offer, so thank you for that. Thank you for being part of the community. Does anybody have any other questions, comments, anything like that? Yeah. Thank you.
The rest, you said that the best way for them to rest is to just be playing?
Well, let me clarify that. Did you have more to that question?
No, I just wanted to talk about rest.
Yeah, thank you. So to rest, and this I get from Gordon Neufeld talks a lot about this, and I highly recommend the book Rest, Play, Grow by Deborah McNamara. Really, really highly recommend that. And if you want to come to me at the end, I can tell you it again. But Rest, Play, Grow, really wonderful book. So to rest, as I gave the example, let's say they're tense. They shouldn't be playing a gun. Their body's tense. They can't relax and play and do their growing that they have to do when there's tense. It's like, I give this terrible example. I play the harp. I used to play the harp professionally, and I was playing in this restaurant. And I was already always nervous about making mistakes. And the owner would literally stand next to me, and every time I made a mistake, he would point it out. No way to rest. I could not enjoy playing the harp. I couldn't feel okay if I made a, quote, mistake, because there was no kindness, there was no care, there was no trust, there was nothing. So for a child to rest, what I mean is in movement, their heart has to rest. I guess to be more specific, their heart, their trust, their security can relax and play freely, and that is a form of rest. I would have rested as I was physically doing something, playing a harp, if this person always said, wow, thanks so much for being here. I just love that you're present and you come. And I go, wow, I feel secure. I don't feel so tense anymore. I think I can play. Does that clarify a little bit, or is there more? Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Maybe, yeah, we have one more, I think. Yeah.
I feel like I should pass it on now. Thank you, Wendolyn.
Yeah.
I have so many questions, but I think the main one is about collaboration. And so I guess this is one question inside another, which is kind of my trick for getting to it. So I get the impression that you have, through this process of developing this work, getting all this feedback from children individually and in groups together and with nature and parents, that you've developed a whole lot of insight. And you've alluded to it some. One question is, how has the work itself contributed to spiritual growth as a person? And the other is, you've mentioned some of the resources like Deborah and Dan Siegel. I have a copy of this new book for you. And do you collaborate with other educators that are in this genre of work, so that you help develop each other locally, nationally, whatever?
Yes to that. Yes to collaborating always. Actually, up until just 2 weeks ago, I was the co-president of the California Forest School Association. Yeah, always working together, learning, growing, going to conferences and things like that. But as far as how has this influenced my spiritual life? Well, I like to tread lightly because we all have a different way of describing spirit. For me, I do feel everything is connected to that thing that we don't see, that development of our spiritual self, and that's my personal way. For me, being out in nature is what informs me about life. I will tell you one of my practices, I almost every morning go outside, often right at dawn, and sit next to a tree, and that helps regulate me, helps me breathe better. I get to hear. I do that practice I shared with you, and doing it over and over and over again, I am expanded, my heart, my mind, my body, my spirit. There'd be a much longer answer to that, but yes. I think I'll just use the answer my spirituality in the world of the unseen. And I'll give one example of that early on when I was running summer camps, because I also ran summer camps for older children. Started that a year before I even did the preschool. And I remember one time sitting at this dry creek bed on this side in the summer camp, and there was kids, I don't know, maybe they were 6 years old, 7 years old. And it looked like some challenges were brewing. And the truth at the time, it's like, I don't really know what to do. Truth is, I don't know what to do. So I sat there and I opened my heart. I invited all of nature, earth, air, water, sky, everything. I just said, please help me. Please give me some insight. And I waited and I waited. And all of a sudden it was like, bing, I got it. There was an airplane that went overhead, and that airplane, when I turned my eyes, it directed my nose into the scent of a skunk. And so then I got the children all excited, and we went on an adventure to find the skunk. So that was a way of just listening, taking your time, no different than Carrie when we're all sitting there, attuning to her, and waiting. So for me, that's a way I could connect it to that in a simplistic way. Does that answer it a little bit? Yes. Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Thank you. How much do you think parents should be involved in the play, and how much should they just let the kids play on their own?
Great question. She said, how much should parents be a part of the play, and how much should they let the children play on their own? I am not a hands-off person. Since I think we should always, get rid of that. Throw that away. That's ejected. I believe that one way to have a whole lot of fun in life is to allow your awe, wonder, and curiosity be active, especially when you're with children. Now, the thing about children, I hear a lot of teachers, sometimes these young teachers, they come and it's like, I'm so good with kids, I know how to play. And it says, you are becoming a child, and actually you've left your ability to observe what is needed to happen for the children. You can be playful and you can be excited, but in a nanosecond, you have to be there for trouble and be there when they need you, instantaneously. It is not for you to have free play, and we don't play, particularly with young children, as big. Like, I can be very big in my play, and I will never be like that with a child. I blow their circuits. It's too much for them. They need me to be something different. So when to play, again, that's an attunement. When is it a collaboration? They want you to be there and you want to be there, but all of a sudden, you don't want to play that game. I see a lot of times adults go, oh, well, they want me to play, so I'm going to do all their rules. Do not do all their rules if you don't want to do that. That's not real. I mean, how are they going to learn that when Susie says, I don't want to be mom? You do too. No, I don't. And you go, oh yeah, I'll be everything you want. It's not really helping them. It's not helping them learn. So if you want to play with them and they want you to play with them, play. And when you're done, you go, oh, that was so fun, I'm going to go over here. Or if you see that their play is going sideways, like lots of times I would see kids having a hard time, and I'm going to consciously come over and start getting really curious about something near them. And I'm going to do it in a way that they're after a while going to go, what are you doing? You know, and they're going to turn around and they're going to get sidetracked from that thing that wasn't working. And I will have facilitated play by interjecting myself, and then I will know when it's time to then move out and let them carry on in their work. But it is a lot about attuning to what is beneficial for them, what is collaborative that they want, what do you want, and knowing when it's time to bow out and let them grow. So again, it really goes back to tuning in, to nourishing, making everyone's getting nourished, what they need. Maybe you have a child who's a little insecure and needs you a little more. And then you know when it's time to fortify them, and you go, oh, you know, look, I'll be right back. I call it conscious neglect. You're like, oh, I really have to take care of this. You don't really have to take care of this, but you do, because you know you're giving them an opportunity to spread their wings a little more. Did that answer that? Yeah. All right, I think it's time for us. Oh, there's another one, did you say? One more, okay, I think, yeah.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I was just wondering if your child sees like an adult argument or something that kind of scares her and some trust goes away. Like what, I know that's a huge topic, but just any
Yeah.
advice on that?
It is a big topic. I like one time I had a dad ask me, he says, well, do you think it affects the kids when my wife and I argue in front of them? And I said, well, yeah. It affects them when you laugh together. It affects them when you cry together. We are affected by those things. And big emotions, like I just said, I would not play in my big adult self in front of a child because it's too big. And yes, it is hard for them. And children, you have to know, they just instinctively turn and blame themselves. So when that rupture happens, it needs some gentle, careful repair to help them feel safe and secure again. It's like all of a sudden, and I don't know how bad the fighting is, but big adult conversations can really weigh on children. And it is hard, but there is repair. You can repair, but be mindful of that. And I personally don't like to talk to adults about the child in front of them. I really don't like that. I have learned the hard way that children don't hear things exactly the way you meant it, and years later it can come back and bite your derriere because they have been suffering for years on something that they misinterpreted. So it is best, unless you are in a village and all the kids are just playing around and they can't even hear you yakking away with the other parents, but be mindful. Yeah, so I don't want to scare you with that, but it does affect. I will say one more thing. Imagine what it's like when you are witnessing people yelling at each other. You're in a store and you hear people yelling at each other. What does that feel like? You're an adult. What is that like? Imagine what you're like when you're a teeny little kid. Yeah.
Can you give us one example of a repair technique?
Well, one thing is, this is where you, number one, notice that your child's there. Stop what you're doing. Take a breath. Attune to your child. See how they're feeling. And you go, oh my goodness. Really meet them where they're at and honor their feeling. Mommy and Daddy have big storms coming out of their mouths. And that's scary. I can see that that's really scary. And take your time to nurture them and love them. Reassure them. If you can reassure them that that won't happen again, do it. If it will happen again, do not do that, because they won't trust you. But gently be with them. Get yourself regulated. Get yourself a little more in tune. If you can't, do something to really come down and meet them. Meet them where they're at. Honor. Oh, this is so scary when Mommy and Daddy are like this. I could go on to other words, but really, the few words, the better. I feel myself being stopped from saying some more words. Just come alongside, love, and what's really, really important is to allow the tears to come. Tears are our healing agent. Gordon Neufeld actually calls the world, we are a tearless society. Our tears are here for a reason, all the different tears we have, and we must shed them. We must.
I'm going to take the shadow off your face.
Oh, thank you.
There's a shadow on your face.
Oh, thank you so much, all this time. Thank you.
I don't know if it's not.
Yeah.
It's still on your face. No, it's not. It's not.
Okay. Allow, encourage, help your child to cry. Really let your children cry, and not so much where they can't stop it. That's getting lost in the tears, but just when they're real. When they're real. That was so scary, wasn't it? That was so scary. I see that tear. I'm so glad those tears are coming. Tears, they've done studies of what happens, the different tears and the constituents in tears. So tears are important. we all need to cry when it's there and when it's real. So that's a little bit, but it is a big subject. Yeah. All right, I think we've gone way over time. And I thank you all. I appreciate your attention and time. And I know there's a big raffle coming up. And I'm excited for that, for you. And if there's any way I can support you or have questions afterwards, I will be back there where my books are to be sold. And thank you ever so much. You're welcome.